Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. South Africa has today filed its memorial to the International Court of Justice. This is in its case on the application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in the Gaza. The Presidency says, in accordance with the rules of the court, the memorial may not be made public. It further says the filing of this memorial takes place at a time when Israel is intensifying the killing of civilians in Gaza and now seems intent to follow a similar path of destruction in Lebanon. The Presidency says the memorial contains evidence which shows how the government of Israel has violated the Genocide Convention by promoting the destruction of Palestinians living in Gaza, physically killing them with an assortment of destructive weapons. We're joined now by presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, looking at South Africa, this is a significant milestone. What does it mean for the country's efforts to convince the ICJ of a genocide in Gaza?
Well, good evening and good evening to your viewers. It is indeed a significant milestone that has taken 9 months since January 26. A team of 14 legal experts, including researchers drawn from South Africa and abroad in various relevant legal expertise, have been hard at work putting together this memorial. Just to give you a picture, we are talking about nearly 6,000 pages, including the main text, witness testimonies, drawn from hundreds of witnesses that include medical professionals, medical doctors that have come forward with information and their testimonies. So it's been a great deal of hard work. It's been difficult work considering some of the graphic details of the visuals, the information that the team has had to contend with. And so we are pleased that we have finally reached this day where we can submit our memorial and continue to peacefully advance our obligation as a country that is signatory to the Genocide Convention to act where we see acts of genocide being committed. And so from that perspective, it is a significant milestone, and we will continue to advance for the adherence of the UN Charter in this regard by Israel with respect to human rights and the rights of dignity of every person.
Now, since launching the case in December last year, I mean, it's been an upward trajectory. South Africa has been successful in 3 attempts to the world's highest court to order interim measures to temper Israel's attack on the occupied territory. But still, even with those significant moves, Israel has been granted unprecedented impunity to breach international law, international laws and norms. How confident is South Africa of the veracity of its case in that regard? Because one could argue that all of this could be in vain because Israel is not stopping. 42,000 people have been killed and there seems no end in sight.
Well, we are quite confident about the veracity of our case, as you've alluded in your question, that we've already been successful in securing several provisional measures against the state of Israel, compelling to act in accordance with the legal prescripts and the Genocide Convention. We don't think it is all in vain. It is for this reason that we are saying this memorial that was submitted today serves as a reminder to the international community to remember the people of Palestine and not to stand by and watch acts of genocide being committed, and also to act in accordance to their own obligations with respect to the Genocide Convention. We will continue to make this call. As with our own struggle for freedom, it was not an overnight event for us to secure freedom. Equally, with respect to the occupation, the suffering of Palestinians, it's going to be an ongoing struggle that is not going to be won overnight. and we will do our bit as a country. As you know, we are not alone in this regard. Several countries have also joined the effort, and they've joined our case, something which we are indeed grateful for. And so as time proceeds, as more and more of these atrocities are exposed, the international community will wake up to what is happening in Palestine, and ultimately, that conflict will be resolved through negotiation. It will require a great deal of commitment from the international community, as well as key role players within the political and government establishments of Israel, to recognize that a perpetual state of conflict with the people of Palestine, with other neighbors in the region, is not sustainable.
As we continue to see a host of countries filing intervening applications to the court this year in support of South Africa, and those lauding the country for being principled and clear-eyed stance, on the back end of that are the critics who are saying perhaps this is as a platform for South Africa to be opportunistic in terms of political opportunism and double standards. What would you say to that?
Well, those critics clearly do not know our history. If they do not appreciate our history. They also do not appreciate the foundations in which a democratic and free South Africa is founded upon. It is something that is embedded within our constitution, that we cannot keep quiet, and we cannot stand by and watch when such acts that demonstrate complete disregard of the value of human life, the value of human rights, the rights of dignity for all people. That is something that's embedded in our DNA. And so those critics will be people that are clearly not aware of our history and where we come from as a country, and what apartheid means to us as a people. And so that kind of criticism will be based on not appreciating our own background, and also not appreciating what our erstwhile leaders have continued called for in terms of the freedom of the Palestinians. And therefore, what we're doing now as a country is to continue on the foundation that was laid by our founding father, President Nelson Mandela, who himself said our own freedom as South Africans will not be complete until the Palestinians have attained their own freedom. And so we will continue that struggle with or without the voices of critics, because it is a principled view and a principled position, rather, that is in line with our own constitution, that is informed by our own international obligations as a member state that is a signatory to the Genocide Convention, which obligates us to act where there are acts of genocide, as in this particular case. And so what we're doing is not just out of seeking recognition. It's an obligation within our constitution. It's an obligation within the various international instruments that as a country we are signatory to. And that's why we expect more and more countries, including even those that are allies to Israel, to recognize what is happening, to also do their part in fulfilling their own international legal obligations in this regard.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening, Presidential Spokesperson Vincent Magwenya.